Exodus chapter 7. The Lord answered him, "See, I have made you as God to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother shall act as your prophet. You shall tell him all that I commanded you. In turn, your brother Aaron shall tell Pharaoh to let the Israelites leave his land. Yet I will make Pharaoh so obstinate that despite the many signs and wonders that I will work in the land of Egypt, he will not listen to you. Therefore, I will lay my hand on Egypt, and by great acts of judgment I will bring the hosts of my people, the Israelites, out of the land of Egypt, so that the Egyptians may learn that I am the Lord, as I stretch out my hand against Egypt and lead the Israelites out of their midst." Moses and Aaron did as the Lord had commanded them. Moses was 80 years old and Aaron 83 years when they spoke to Pharaoh. The Lord told Moses and Aaron, "If Pharaoh demands that you work a sign or wonder, you shall say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and throw it down before Pharaoh, and it will be changed into a snake.'" Then Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did as the Lord had commanded. Aaron threw his staff down before Pharaoh and his servants, and it was changed into a snake. Pharaoh in turn summoned wise men and sorcerers, and they also, the magicians of Egypt, did likewise by their magic arts. Each one threw down his staff, and it was changed into a snake, but Aaron's staff swallowed their staffs. Aaron, however, was obstinate and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had foretold. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Pharaoh is obdurate in refusing to let the people go. Tomorrow morning, when he sets out for the water, go and present yourself by the river bank, holding in your hand the staff that turned into a serpent. Say to him, 'The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, sent me to you with the message, let my people go to worship me in the desert. But as yet you have not listened. The Lord now says, this is how you shall know that I am the Lord. I will strike the water of the river with the staff I hold, and it shall be changed into blood. The fish in the river shall die, and the river itself shall become so polluted that the Egyptians will be unable to drink its water.'" The Lord then said to Moses, "Say to Aaron, take your staff and stretch out your hand over the waters of Egypt, their streams and canals and pools, all their supplies of water, that they may become blood. Throughout the land of Egypt there shall be blood, even in the wooden pails and stone jars." Moses and Aaron did as the Lord had commanded. Aaron raised his staff and struck the water of the river in full view of Pharaoh and his servants, and all the water of the river was changed into blood. The fish in the river died, and the river itself became so polluted that the Egyptians could not drink its water. There was blood throughout the land of Egypt, but the Egyptians' magicians did the same by their magic arts. So Pharaoh remained obstinate and would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had foretold. He turned away and went into his house, with no concern even for this. All the Egyptians had to dig in the neighborhood of the river for drinking water, since they could not drink the river water. 7 days passed after the Lord had struck the river. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and tell him, 'Thus says the Lord, let my people go to worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I warn you, I will send a plague of frogs over all your territory. The river will teem with frogs. They will come up into your place and into your bedroom and onto your bed, into the houses of your servants too, and your subjects, even into your ovens and your kneading bowls. The frogs will swarm all over you and your subjects and your servants. Chapter 8. The Lord then told Moses, "Say to Aaron, stretch out your hand and your staff over the streams and canals and pools to make frogs overrun the land of Egypt." Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. But the magicians did the same by their magic arts. They too made frogs overrun the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Pray the Lord to remove the frogs from me and my subjects, and I will let the people go to offer sacrifice to the Lord." Moses answered Pharaoh, "Do me the favor of appointing the time when I am to pray for you and your servants and your subjects, that the frogs may be taken away from you and your houses, and be left only in the river." "Tomorrow," said Pharaoh. Then Moses replied, "It shall be as you have said, so that you may learn that there is none like the Lord our God. The frogs shall leave you and your houses, your servants and your subjects, only into the river shall they be left." After Moses and Aaron had left Pharaoh's presence, Moses implored the Lord to fulfill the promise he had made to Pharaoh about the frogs. And the Lord did as Moses had asked. The frogs in the houses and courtyards and field died off. Heaps and heaps of them were gathered up, and there was a stench in the land. But when Pharaoh saw that there was a respite, he became obdurate and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had foretold. Thereupon the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron to stretch out his staff and strike the dust of the earth, that it may be turned into grains throughout the land of Egypt." They did so. Aaron stretched out his hand, and with his staff he struck the dust on the earth, and the gnats came upon man and beast. The dust of the earth was turned into gnats throughout the land of Egypt. Though the magicians tried to bring forth gnats by their magic arts, they could not do so. As the gnats infested man and beast, the magician said to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." Yet Pharaoh remained obstinate and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had foretold. Again, the Lord told Moses, "Early tomorrow morning present yourself to Pharaoh when he goes forth to the water, and say to him, 'Thus says the Lord, let my people go to worship me. If you will not let my people go, I warn you, I will loose swarms of flies upon you and your servants, and your subjects and your houses, the houses of the Egyptians, and the very ground on which they stand shall be filled with swarms of flies. But on that day I will make an exemption of the land of Goshen. There shall be no flies where my people dwell, that you may know that I am in the midst of the earth. I will make this distinction between my people and your people. This sign shall take place tomorrow." This the Lord did. Thick swarm of flies entered the house of Pharaoh and houses of his servants. Throughout Egypt the land was infested with flies. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said to them, "Go and offer sacrifice to your God in this land." But Moses replied, "It is not right to do so, for the sacrifices we offer to the Lord our God are an abomination to the Egyptians. If before their very eyes we offer sacrifices which are an abomination to them, will not the Egyptians stone us We must go a 3 days journey in the desert to offer sacrifice to the Lord our God as he commands us." "Well then," said Pharaoh, "I will let you go to offer sacrifice to the Lord your God in the desert, provided that you do not go too far away and that you pray for me." Moses answered, "As soon as I leave your presence, I will pray to the Lord that the flies may depart tomorrow from Pharaoh and his servants and his subjects." Pharaoh, however, must not play false again by refusing to let the people go to offer sacrifice to the Lord. When Moses left Pharaoh's presence, he prayed to the Lord, and the Lord did as Moses had asked. He removed the flies from Pharaoh and his servants and subjects. Not one remained, but once more Pharaoh became obdurate and would not let the people go. The word of the Lord.